This Good Morning Northwest morning spread is brought to you by Bill's Heating and Air Conditioning.
All right, it is 6:52. Let's get you ready to take on your Tuesday here in the morning spread. Destiny Richards in studio with what the IRS has deemed the dirty dozen tax scams of 2023. But first, let's get right to Mark with that forecast, talking about a wet day ahead of us.
Yeah, we got the wet weather falling now, and in our first alert weather, that's going to taper off, but the winds will replace the rain, and we'll see that in the next hour. Right now, we're sitting at 44 downtown. We have officially temperatures at 43 degrees, but we also have winds to 16 miles an hour. Those winds will gust in excess of 30 miles an hour. And for today, we're going to warm up to 49, but it's going to be a windy afternoon.
All right, Coeur d'Alene police released new information on a shooting involving a suspected car burglar in a mall parking lot. Police say 74-year-old James Dean of Priest River fired at 30-year-old Shane Brown on Friday afternoon. They say Dean confronted Brown, who he found inside his vehicle after coming out of a store. Police say Brown pulled the car forward. Dean ended up on the hood before firing several rounds into the vehicle. Both were taken to the hospital, where Brown later died. Right now, the district attorney's office is reviewing the case to determine whether charges should be filed against Dean. The Coeur d'Alene Public School District Board of Trustees will consider a new addition to the student policy manual about what bathrooms, locker rooms, and overnight lodgings transgender students can use. This comes on the heels of Governor Brad Little signing a bill that blocks transgender students from using bathrooms that do not align with their gender assigned at birth. The students can sue the schools for up to $5,000 if they can prove people of the opposite sex are using gendered facilities. In that closed special meeting, the board will discuss accommodations for trans students.
The countdown is on to the last day to file your taxes. The deadline is April 18th this year. And with only 1 week left, the IRS is urging you to file carefully and accurately, avoiding tax scams and common mistakes. A lot of scams start popping up during peak filing season, but according to the IRS, they can occur any time of year. The goal of these fraudsters is to always steal your money, your personal information, data, and more. When it comes to tax filing mistakes, the most common errors on returns include missing or inaccurate social security numbers, misspelled names, and inaccurate figures for things like wages and income. Mistakes happen, but there are some cases where you may need to file an amended return. See the story on KXLY.com for more info to help you leading up to tax day.
The Idaho Attorney General is warning business owners to be on the lookout for robocalls claiming they qualify for a federal tax credit. Here's some tips from the AG's office. First, you should ignore calls from unknown numbers. Second, hang up on robocalls immediately and consult with private attorneys or tax professionals before making any rash decisions. A bill that would ban the sale of assault weapons is about to become law in Washington. It would prohibit the manufacturing, importation, distribution, and sale of assault weapons like AR-15s in Washington. Lawmakers outlined 62 different makes and models, including a complete ban of some weapons altogether, like the AK-47. Lawmakers also included a list of modifications for these firearms that would be outlawed as well. But Spokane County Sheriff John Knowles says lawmakers should readjust their focus to the mental health crisis that he believes is what's driving these shootings. To find out more about what Sheriff Knowles said, you can head to our website, KXLY.com. A woman accused of arson and attempted murder is being held in jail on $2 million bail. Jennifer Barden was arrested Friday after police received a tip she was in the area of Euclid and Nelson in Spokane. She's accused of setting a duplex on fire last month in North Spokane. Police say one woman was seriously hurt and several family pets died in the fire. She is due back in court next week. The city of Spokane says it can't afford to keep 2 of its shelters open. We first told you on Friday that funding for the Trent Resource and Assistance Center is now up in the air. We're also learning the Cannon Street shelter is set to run out of funding in May. The contract to operate Cannon Street as a drop-in shelter is set to expire on May 31st. In a meeting yesterday, Councilmember Lori Kinnear said the building is best suited for a facility that would be dedicated to medically fragile homeless people. The city would not be able to use traditional funding. It would need to explore other funding streams like Medicaid. The facility would also need a sponsor and an organization who could manage the building. There is no set timeline as to when the Cannon Shelter might make this type of transition. A new wolf pack is now living on Mount Spokane. Washington's Fish and Wildlife Department says more than 200 wolves are known to be living in the state, and the wolf population has been growing every year. Captured on a local hunter's video in October, a new pack was seen running through Mount Spokane. Fish and Wildlife says although wolves are rarely seen by hikers, people should be on the lookout, especially for their livestock. And the Spokane Indians home opener is tonight. They'll be hosting the Eugene Emeralds at 6:35 in game 1 of a 6-game series, and there will be fireworks afterwards. Bad weather postponed the Indians' entire weekend series in Vancouver, BC, so tonight will actually be the Indians' first game of the season. All right, we're back with a final check of weather next.